Hey everyone, Lotus Prince here. At long last, because it has been quite a long time since I've done one of these, why don't we do a Q&A session? I've got a whole bunch of questions here, almost 40, I got 39, so may as well get right onto it. So, actually more than 39 questions, I got 39 people asking questions. So let's see, The Evil Within 93 asks, do you know what LPs you're going to do after Dark Souls? Yes. I have a few lined up. This one's kind of already been answered. Sentient for the PS1 is going up next. After Sentient, it's going to be one of two things. I'm trying to record something that I feel will be timely if I get it done quickly enough. If I can, I'll do that one. If I can't, then there's something else I've pre-recorded, but we'll find out. I don't want to go too much into what's going ahead, though. I tend to reveal those as they come. Number 2. Connor Mills asks, he says he's been watching my Parasite Eve gameplay. Can you play Parasite Eve 2? Yeah, I can. I mean, the thing with basically any will you play this game is, unless you caught me when I already had plans for it, my answer is almost always going to be, I would like to, but I don't know when I'm going to get to it, because there's a million different things to play, and I would like to play lots of them. Like, when am I going to play Parasite Eve 2, Clock Tower 2, Dino Crisis 2, tons of games that are not 2 at the end. The next Resident Evil game. Like, I don't know when it's not even, well, with Resident Evil, it's when I can, honestly. But with a lot of these games, I don't know. There's always, like, I kind of go by how I feel, and it's like, I feel like playing this one next. And it's hard for me to get a lock on one particular thing, so I don't really have an answer for when these things would happen, even though I still would like to play Parasite Eve 2, and it's been years since I played the first one, but I don't have a timetable or anything like that, unfortunately. Salty Nuts is repeating a question he's asked me. I've asked this before, but will you be playing The Evil Within? Will I? Yeah, probably, but again, when? I have no freaking clue. I would like to play it, though. Also, I have not played a survival horror game in a while, so I'm due one. Yeah, fair enough. Although, the game I mentioned I was trying to record in a timely manner, that one is survival horror, but again, we'll see if that comes through or not. If it does, it'll be after Sentient, so we'll find out. Emerald's Game Cave asks, I noticed you like to wear the Alice shirt in your videos. Is there a reason for this? Other than that the games are pretty awesome? And how do you feel Alice in Wonderland has been used as inspiration to other movie and game franchises? Yeah, I like the shirt. And it really is cool that there is a shirt of American McGee's Alice, because that game's amazing, but I feel also underrepresented and underrated. It kind of had a comeback with Madness Returns, at least in relevance, but it's not like the most popular game in the world, but I don't know, it just hooked me when I first played it. And how do I feel it's been used as inspiration to other movies and game franchises? It just has. There are lots of things that at least refer to it, if not outright use characters from it. Like Fran Bow is just in canon with Alice, apparently. There's the Tim Burton movies, which is actually when this shirt came out, or at least was up for sale. That's when I got it, when the first Tim Burton Alice movie came out. Silent Hill uses nods from Alice in Wonderland at some point. Anytime somebody says down the rabbit hole, that's a reference to Alice in Wonderland, so, it's around. I think it's public domain, so anyone could do anything they want with it, and they do. Nyazesk M, would you like to make a Dead Space walkthrough? Yeah, and in fact I did, but the data was lost, so I'm gonna have to do that again. And it just, drove me crazy that I actually did it and can't use it. So I'll see if I can record it again at some point. Again, when? I don't know. Rhett Buckley, what is the status on the Resident Evil series? And would you let's play Overblood 2, In Cold Blood, Observer, and The Silver Case? Well, the status on Resident Evil is my GameCube is in the shop, and I'm waiting for it to come back. Would I let's play Overblood 2, In Cold Blood, Observer, The Silver Case? Maybe. Never heard of it, definitely want to. Again, when? Groovy George, I see you're playing the Dark Souls games. Would you play Bloodborne as well? Whenever I get to it, yes, I do want to play Bloodborne. The Cadet Jaina, where did the nickname Lotus Prince come from? This is back when I was in middle or high school. I was making a username for the GameFAQs forums back when I was on those. And I was just coming up with something. I was super into Magic the Gathering at the time, so that's where Lotus comes from. And Prince I just thought kind of sounded cool. And I don't know, I just stuck with it forever. And I never got around to listen to any of your podcasts, so if you were to very shortly describe what they're about, what would you say about them? It's my friends and I just talking about what we did this week for corrective consciousness, and then answering one or two user-submitted questions. And for that's on Tuesdays. And on Thursday, we have reactive consciousness that used to be about topical things that are happening in the world or whatever, and we still do talk about those if we can, but if we can't come up with something, then it's just like bigger stuff that's happening to us, and we can kind of make it relevant. So like for the most recent one, at the time of this recording, anyway, we talked about, the results of the Super Bowl and the Royal Rumble in wrestling. I had to do a lot of sitting back for both of those. I don't follow football or wrestling, but the conversation I thought was actually still one of the better ones we've had in a while, because when one person goes on about something, it's really interesting for the others to listen to and contribute when relevant. Chris C., which is the best Pokemon? Remembering that I've only played Yellow, Mewtwo, Nidoking, they're cool. I mean, I haven't really paid attention to Pokemon since, like, Snap and Stadium on the N64. The only Pokemon I've seen after that were in, like, the Smash Brothers games. And I don't know their names. Oh look, it's that one. I know that one from Smash. There's stuff like Munchlax, which you can't help but know because it says its name clearly, but this is the best I got. And like now there's like 700 legendary Pokemon, so it's like the name legendary is losing its meaning. Like I know you gotta have at least a couple of legendaries every game, but now there's like, I think there literally are like 20 legendaries. It just feels weird. Demodor. Any books that you recommend? Fiction and non. I don't usually read non-fiction, but of those, I remember Stephen King's On Writing, I found fascinating, even though it's been like over a decade since I read it, because I read it for high school. It's kind of difficult for me to come up with a non-fiction book on the fly, though. It's been a while. But fiction, I tend to be a sci-fi fantasy person. Isaac Asimov's Foundations trilogy is brilliant. There's The Chronicles of Amber by Roger Zelazny. Probably the best thing Roger Zelazny's ever written is, at least that I've read, is Lord of Light. That's freaking gold. The Song of Ice and Fire books are quite good if you're willing to accept that just everything is miserable and only gets worse and worse and worse. But they are really well-written books. Stephen King's The Eyes of the Dragon is a little more fantasy than horror, but that's also really good, and it blends nicely into his Dark Tower series. So there's a bunch of good stuff going on. And then Kade Jaina came back in response to Damodor's question, favorite genre? Yeah, probably sci-fi fantasy. Chedley Hero, do you plan to play one of the Final Fantasy series? No. Those games take forever and a day. The only Final Fantasy I would consider playing, on the internet would maybe be Mystic Quest, and that's because that one's actually doable in Let's Play or streaming format. Probably stream if anything else, but I don't know how interesting that would be. Just, Final Fantasies are so repetitive. Like, they're designed for the grind. It's like Pokemon. Like, I could not watch a Let's Play on Pokemon. It's just like, it's just endless. It's the same thing over and over, and it's slow-paced. Now, I don't know about new Final Fantasies, but that's how the old ones were. Even the really good ones, they are slow. M. Cardenas, will I ever play Kingdom Hearts? Nah, I'm just not interested in playing those. They are cool to watch, though. I watched my friends play through 1 and 2, but that's kind of all I know. And then they released a bunch of weird titles on various handhelds, and the plot gets more ridiculously convoluted to the point where everything sounds stupid to me. Like, if my friend gets Kingdom Hearts 3, and he's like, oh, dude, Lotus Prince, you gotta see this, I'll tune in for Kingdom Hearts 3, but, like, I don't want to play them. Carrick52. I notice you make an effort to go for 100% in games I wouldn't bother to try and complete fully, like Yakuza or Dark Souls. Do you find such tasks as fulfilling as the main part of the game, or do you only do it out of obligation? It depends on the game, really. With some, I feel that the 100% kind of makes the game, like Dark Souls and The Binding of Isaac, where content comes with the achievements. And for Yakuza, I don't go for 100%, but I go for what unlocks the secret boss, which takes a lot anyway. There are some times where I do find it, like, out of obligation, like, I should just do the one more thing. But there are other times I'm passionate about it, so I'd say it's a case-by-case basis. ZKA is? I don't know, it's capital ZKA and then lowercase is. Are there any games you're looking forward to this year? I rarely know what games are coming out this year. You know, any given game I play like 2 or 3 years after it comes out anyway. Like, I still haven't even bought Resident Evil 7. And I've been hyped about that one. But I know damn well there are like 15, literally 15 Resident Evil games I need to play first. Maybe even more. So, I'll wait till it's like $20, why not? I will say one game I'm looking forward to this year, actually this year, is Yakuza 6. Because I'm a big Yakuza fan, and Yakuza 6 is, I think, the conclusion of Kiryu's story. So I look forward to seeing where that goes. Oh, and ZKAS says, I'm looking forward to Ni no Kuni 2. Though I'm sure there's more. Ni no Kuni, I'm looking forward to on principle, but I haven't played the first one, so you know, I'll get to it whenever I get to it. I do want to play those games, though. But the scary thing about RPGs is, which one do I play? Because any one I choose is a gamble. Because, like, that's going to be a job now. That's just going to be a long-ass game. I would like to play Ni no Kuni, but I would also like to play the Dragon Guard games, and the Deception series, and stuff like that. It just, like, when does it stop? The Xenoblade stuff, like... Beta Bran. Which of your Let's Plays are you the most fond of? Because of the game itself, the experience of recording it, or any other factor or multiple factors? Should Have Been Jam Gaiden was a blast to record, because that was just funny. Just getting Vice's reaction to a lot of the jokes in it, and our banter back and forth. A lot of co-ops, I feel, are great for that reason. Danganronpa with Pyrojack Frost was also really great, because I was the one going in blind and he knew what to do, so it was cool for him to see my reactions, and there's always that experience trying to solve a mystery. It was really cool. For solo stuff, I definitely have the moments. American McGee's Owls is just a classic for me. I rather like going through, especially the early Silent Hill games. Snatcher was a lot of fun. That's another co-op one. I like playing Ride to Hell with Mr. Ryu, even though the game itself was kind of a grind, but the co-op and the laughing at the scenes kind of made it, like, really worth it. And there's almost certainly more I'm forgetting. The first Corpse Party, that was a powerful one as well. Okay, so, Elemental Hero Joe. What do you enjoy most about American McGee's Alice and Alice Madness Returns? I don't know, maybe just the aesthetic and the theme, because the actual gameplay is kind of clunky in both for different reasons, but it's just cool to see where it goes. I don't know, I just like seeing a dark take on Alice, I guess. Zuku, any plans to play Tormented Fathers? I don't even know what that is. I mean, he says it follows the same formula as Clock Tower and Haunting Ground, so I don't know, maybe. But I know nothing of the game itself other than what I just read right now. Dragon Age SG7. Is it hard to have games that you really want to play, but have decided to Let's Play so you must wait for months or years to be played? I'd say it was hard, but it's gotten easier. It does get frustrating, though, because one Let's Play is like a month. So it's just like, well, see you later. Like Resident Evil. Like, when am I playing the next Resident Evil? I don't know. When I get my GameCube back. Do you play any instruments other than the piano? Nope. Andy Upheim. Worst game I've ever Let's Played. Like, Ride to Hell. Like, what else could it be? There might have been games that I hated more, but that's probably not true, though, because I tend to Let's Play what I like or think I would like. it's gotta be Ride to Hell in terms of just sheer quality. And what anime do you hate? I don't know. Again, I tend to watch stuff I like. I don't hate watch. Like, even if there's stuff that's bad, I don't know if I've ever seen an anime that I've actually hated. Because if there's something I don't like, then, I'll stop. Favorite anime of all time? That might go to, I've said this before, it was years ago, and it might still hold the #1 spot. It might be Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Picture Game of Thrones in space, except that the characters are all, or almost all, likable. That is a brilliant show, and it's pretty deep, too. I've also really grown to like My Hero Academia, even though I've only seen the first season, and Made in Abyss, even though at the time of this recording there only is one season, but super good. Hellbrecht 08, which fantasy world is your favorite? I have no idea. And where would I want to live? The one that's the most normal. It's like the world of Pokemon, like every animal is like a superpowered monster that can kill you, like no thank you. Like whatever fantasy world is the most like unimpressive. I don't want to live in a world where like there are just mages who could blow up like countries with a snap of their finger. Like to hell with that. Itamalt. Any chance of a Let's Play on the Neverhood? It's one of my favorite adventure games. No. The problem with Neverhood is that I've seen from multiple Amazon sellers that it just doesn't work on Windows 10, so it's not happening. If it's ever released on Steam or GOG, that'll be a different story, because the game actually does look really good. But the way it is now, I cannot play it. Oh yeah, by the way, this was funny, because I was Googling the game. This is weird. The front of the box, the American ESRB rating is T, 13 and up, but on the back of the box, it has like a message up top that says for ages 7 and up. Daniel Carson. Will I be playing other Resident Evil games? Yes, see previous question. Bob Usualis. Your thoughts on speedrunning Resident Evil games? I'm never going to do it, but I like watching speedruns. Does a world record time interest you? No, but I like watching other people do it. Also, how did you overcome those games being frightening? I mean, the first game kind of freaked me out, mainly because I wasn't used to the concept of fixed camera angles, so I change a room, or not even a room, I change a camera angle. Like I walk down a hallway, cut, and there's just an enemy on top of me. That freaked me out, but the games didn't really scare me. A couple of jump scares, like the dogs through the window in Resident Evil 1, that got me, but like, I don't really find them that scary, just fun. I get that they're horror games, but I'm not like, oh man, like, I only really get scared by games like Fatal Frame, or Neverending Nightmares, or White Day. Those I kind of force my way through, but Resident Evil never really got under my skin. Lastly, Resident Evil 4, I don't consider Resident Evil, because I was too scared to play 1 to 3. I don't know what that means. Like, were you not scared to play 4? I mean, that game had its moments, in terms of scares, but it's actually one of my favorite Resident Evil games. Where do I stand with it? Not in terms of fear factor, but as a passionate Resident Evil player. Yeah, one of my favorite Resident Evil games, although it's not really survival horror anymore. Especially not survival. Like, enemies drop ammo like piñata candy. Sean Elshi, I hope I'm saying that right. I would personally like to know where your interest in grammar came about from. I don't know. It might be hereditary, because my grandma was a super hardcore, like, correct you on your grammar kind of person. And my dad has a real sense for it too, as does my mom, actually. So maybe that's where it came from. And have I considered any Star Wars titles for a Let's Play? No. Star Wars games just use the John Williams soundtrack, like, all the time. They use, like, soundtrack from the movies. So I don't think it's happening, even though there are lots of really good Star Wars games. Swamp Lord. Would I ever consider covering other prototypes or betas for the Resident Evil series? I went over the demos and the prototype of Resident Evil 1 in my Resident Evil 1 comparison video. Maybe as I come across them. Although I've never seen an actual file. This person's suggesting Resident Evil 0 on N64. If there's a playable version of that, then maybe. Cancelled spin-offs for the PS1? I don't even know what that refers to. Well, unless it's Resident Evil 1.5. Again, if I can find a proper version of that to play, then maybe. The Hookman Resident Evil 4, I don't think there's a playable version of that. Although that looked freaking cool. Alec Aquino, or Aquino? What's the deal with that creepy bow you do every time you introduce yourself? If you find it creepy, then sorry. Although, I don't know. I don't remember how it came about. Like, just how I introduced myself. I don't remember why I did that. I've just kind of been doing it. It's just been that way for years now. Okay, Justin Bailey asks, I brought this up in a live stream, but is there any chance I'd play Conker's Bad Fur Day? I actually would like to do that. Again, when? But I have been kind of wanting to do that one. That game's so out there. Miss Velve, what is the formula of your channel? I know it's about horror games, but from a very wide variety, I'm just a bit confused. It's basically whatever I feel like playing. And now that I have a Patreon account, it alternates between what I feel like playing and what specific patrons feel like having me play. I do tend to like horror games, but it's just kind of whatever I'm in the mood for now. Would you ever play The Last Guardian? I guess that would be the obvious conclusion to the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus and then The Last Guardian sort of trilogy. But it does look a bit frustrating to play, as apparently the big creature just acts like an actual animal and just may or may not obey you. And it does bug me when the game just doesn't want to be played. Like, press X to... Like, can you imagine just, like, press X and your character just doesn't do what X does? It just drives me crazy. Like, whenever anything you do has a chance of happening. Like that Pac-Man adventure game on the Sega Genesis, where the entire game is trying to convince Pac-Man to act. I don't know, we'll see. I might get into it. What are your thoughts on the game? Basically that. It looks cool as hell. I just hope that the game is, like, playable. Zuku. Final Fantasy, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Metal Gear Solid. I don't know what that means. Like, do I like them? Sure. Will I let's play them? No. Have been doing it. Have already done. No. Fenrir Wolflord. If you had to choose a game and follow its rules loosely, what game worlds would you choose to be stuck in? And then out of these specific options. Resident Evil, Dark Souls, Corpse Party, Silent Hill, Dead Space, or Fatal Frame. Fatal Frame, no doubt. Like, that's potentially the scariest one, but the thing with Fatal Frame is this place was cursed and is full of ghosts. Okay, fine, don't go there. Problem solved. I don't live in Japan, so I'm good. Like, Fatal Frame, I think... Like, the first Fatal Frame was, like, based on a true story. Like, Fatal Frame, I think, is just the real world. Just like, that house is haunted. That town is haunted. Okay, fine. I'll be over here then. There, I did it. I avoided the ghosts. Matatoto. You seem like a nice, highly educated person. Are you the same in real life? I try to be. I mean, like, I don't just act like a total jerk for no reason in real life or anything. I try to be agreeable. So I'll say yes. And then what do you do for a living? Like, your main job as of today? I teach essay writing at a university. So there's another part where I get that sense of grammar in there. Like, it's my job, actually. Because this semester I'm teaching English language learners, so they know English, but writing it is a whole other world. You know, native English speakers have trouble writing essays in English. So people who don't speak English as their first language can run into a whole other set of challenges. The Fool Arcana. I was wondering how your group LPs come about. Is it a request from the CC crew to be part or more your end? I'm reading that wrong. Is it more a request from the CC crew to be a part? Or more your end? It isn't even... I guess a lot of people who have been in the group LPs are on the CC crew. That's just my group of friends. The first couple, I think, were on my end. Well, the very first one might have actually been on Vice's end. I forgot what we did first, the Bobo's Big Adventure or Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, but One of those was his request, one of those was my request. I asked, I think, Mr. Ryu if he would do Overblood and Little Nightmares with me, but he asked if he could do Ride to Hell. It's just kind of like, we see if we could do this stuff. Danganronpa, Pyro is a super fan, and he wanted to do like a Danganronpa Let's Play with me, again, to get me to play it, but also for the Let's Play. So, I don't know, it's a case-by-case basis, I guess. Insane Buffoon, will you be doing your Resident Evil 5 and 6 Let's Plays co-op? I would like to, yes I would, if I can get away with it. If it gets to the point where, like, it might be a while before the PlayStation Network goes down on PS3, but if it gets to the point where PlayStation 3 Network is down and you can only co-op them on PS4, then the answer is no, because I'm not paying for multiplayer, a feature I haven't used in years, even free on PSN, so, like, good luck thinking I'm going to pay for that. But if I can get away with playing Resident Evil 5 and 6 co-op, then I will. And would I consider Let's Playing The Wonderful 101? Yeah, maybe, but again, no telling when or if that'll happen. Tikkun Unusual Wordsmith III. Which game soundtracks are your go-to listens? Well, I have some soundtrack CDs for, like, Fury and Silent Hill 3, because they came with those games, and stuff like that. I do like listening to those in the car, if I can get away with it. But what I listen to on YouTube, like, I'm in the mood for listening to a whole soundtrack. Like Streets of Rage 1 and 2, Donkey Kong Country Trilogy, I've listened to the Xenosaga Trilogy, like, whatever I can listen to that just kind of, that'll be good for an hour or two. And then, either that, or personal game covers that strike an appeal with you. Like, after I played Undertale, there were a bunch of Undertale covers that I got into, like, for Spider Dance and Death by Glamour. Those tracks are just too good. And then gameplay or cutscenes from games that just leave an impression on you. There were a bunch, but it's kind of hard to come up with. There's the big reveal in Silent Hill 2 when you watch the videotape. That one really left an impact on me. Various wrong ends in Corpse Party. I don't want to give this one away because I haven't Let's Played it, but there's a certain scene in Valkyria Chronicles where you're hiding out in a shack and you're discovered by the enemy. That was probably my favorite scene in the entire game. A bunch of the bigger, heavier RPGs have stuff. Oh, any number of the scenes from The Last of Us where a named character dies. Because the way those are handled are just like, ugh, like some of those just are so brutal. Not the manner of death, but just the mood. It just hits you. Jersey Milk. Do you think you'll ever do a Let's Play by the short-lived but talented Clover Studios? God Hand, Okami, Beautiful Joe. I've already done God Hands, but I might do Okami. Beautiful Joe, that was a game I got pleasure out of watching. When I tried playing it, admittedly this was years and years ago. Maybe my opinion will have changed, but when I tried playing it, I didn't really get into it. But Okami's a maybe. Spoony Lupin. Since you've mentioned an interest in Harry Potter, what Hogwarts house would you be in? I haven't touched Harry Potter since I read the 7th book when it came out. But, I mean, it's a wonderful series, but, like, I read it and now I have read it. Which house would I be in? Probably Ravenclaw, because they're, like, they're not doofy like Hufflepuff, but, like, they're not the hero like Gryffindor, or, like, I know Slytherin isn't inherently the villain house, but let's face it, it's the villain house. Ravenclaw has maybe, like, a little less intelligence than, like, the mad scientists of Slytherin, but they're also just kind of there, and they're not, like, the focus ever. Like, that'd probably be me. What do you consider the most difficult game you've ever beaten? It depends on what you're trying to do. Just to make it through the game, maybe Galarian's Ash just for the final boss. Dark Souls, like, I tried doing everything. That's part of what made it difficult. Although the 4 kings can burn in the freaking hell they already live in. I got a platinum on Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Beating the game isn't terrible, but platinum it sucked. Try fighting Hush and Delirium with the Lost. See how much fun you have. Fakafon, what's your favorite brand of beer? I don't drink, I never have drunk, so I don't have one. And finally, it's SR, so it's either Sir or Senior. Pasta de Amendoim. What are your 5 all-time favorite games? I don't really do that, so I don't know. Like, Silent Hill or Eternal Darkness might be my favorite horror game. The original Deus Ex, and possibly Doom 2016 might be among my favorite shooters. Skies of Arcadia and Valkyria Chronicles may be among my favorite RPGs. The first Dark Souls is my favorite game of its kind. I haven't played 2, 3 of Bloodborne, though. So, like, that's kind of the best I can give you. Hardest challenge you've had in a video game? Again, platinuming Afterbirth Plus was like a 400+ hour challenge, so there's that. But also, relatively recently, I've mentioned this before, but unlocking the secret boss fight in the Yakuza games usually requires you to go above and beyond standard game completion requirements, like at the minimum, doing all the sub-stories. But Yakuza 2 on the PS2, you almost have to do everything in that game. You don't have to do the gambling stuff, but you gotta do every sub-story, many of which are hard, and actually can be failed. In newer Yakuza games, they let you retry. Or, they don't have a, you beat it, but you didn't beat it right state. Yakuza 2 had a bunch of those. And some of those sub-stories sucked. Like the baseball one, hit 10 of my 20 pitches, and the balls would literally be coming toward you like this. It's like, or the golf game, I need you to get at least X number of points, because you're not going for the hole. It's like, you get 100 points if you can hit the turning blade of the windmill when you have the wind blowing at 1,000 miles an hour to the left. So you have to, like, if I want to aim directly at the camera, I have to aim, like, way out here, and then the ball goes, whoa, and you need to time it, so it hits the windmill blade as it's turning. That was, like, I watched a video guide on how to do that, and it still took me forever to make that happen. That was horrible. And then there was the Mahjong game. I had to learn how to play Mahjong just for that, but then even when I kind of know what I'm doing, I swear to God, like, it just looks like the scoring is made up as it goes along. So it's like, I think you did pretty well. Oh, but you lost 500 points for whatever reason. That guy gets 1,000. I'm like, what is this game? And in that particular sub-story, I started with a handicap because I was covering for a guy who was losing and needed to cover his gambling debts. That was horrible. So being able, not even fighting Amon, but unlocking the ability to fight Amon in Yakuza 2 was a freaking disaster. Oh, and also, you have to beat every single fighter in the Colosseum with janky Yakuza 2 controls. If you play Yakuza starting from 3, go back to 2. See how well you like its combat system. It's playable, but the Colosseum is just awful. Especially with your master Komaki just moving around like Yakuza 1 Majima. He's just warping all over the screen, and you can't move quite like that. You don't, like, your movement is really awkward. That was hard. That was a game I beat a long time ago, but unlocking Amon, I basically rage quit that and came back to it years later. Like, I beat it in 2017. Like, that was not easy. And then finally, your top 3 favorite video game franchises. I don't know. Like, I can't even help you there. I can name a few that I like. You know, I like Silent Hill. I like, Resident Evil. I've only played one Valkyria Chronicles game, but I assume I like those. I love the Yakuza series, but like favorites? And your favorite or least favorite game of said franchises? I don't know, for Silent Hill, maybe Shattered Memories. It's got like the best story idea, but that game is just not fun to play. Or no, obviously, Book of Memories for the Vita. There you go. That's not even a great dungeon crawler, let alone a great Silent Hill game. Resident Evil, of what I've played, Survivor, that's not even that bad, it's just my least favorite. Or maybe Resident Evil 5. it has the best gameplay of any of the ones I've played. But that story is just like, why'd you even bother? Like, I get very invested in story in games, unless, like, you clearly don't need one. Like, you know, Mario. Like, run to the right and save the princess. Okay, fine. But Resident Evil, you know, I want to try getting invested. And the story was just so stupid in that game. Yakuza least favorite? That's really hard. Like, they're kind of all good. Maybe, like, I don't even know. That's, like, it's gonna be between 3 or 5, and neither of those are bad. Playing as Shinada kind of sucks in 5, but overall those games are still brilliant, though. So, like, I don't even know if I have an answer for the Yakuza games. Yeah, so those are the questions I've received. So thank you very much for contributing those questions, and thank you all for watching. This has been quite fun. It's been a long time since I've done one of these, so it's gratifying to finally really get an opportunity to do another Q&A session. And I'm releasing this video on the 8th anniversary of my having started to upload Let's Play videos. So what can I say? This has been a wonderful 8 years, and I hope to do at least 8 more. 8's a bit of a weird number to work with, but it's the 8th anniversary, so we're talking 8s, I guess. So thank you all so much once again for watching, and until next time, everyone.